For those of you who forget, Brexit was the British remake of Game of Thrones. Yeah, well, technically it wasn't, it just felt like it, because it was similarly depressing, dreary, and full of backstabbings and sex scandals. And yes, I know that saying Brexit was like Game of Thrones seems like a bit of an obvious observation, but it's actually an incredibly apt comparison because like Game of Thrones, it became pretty obvious a few years prior to the final season that the ending was probably going to be a massive letdown. But everyone still stuck with it out of a dismal sense of, well, we've started, might as well get it over with. And even though everyone could see that letdown coming, they all still got massively angry when the show flamed out with a conclusion that somehow managed to be even worse than everyone was expecting. And now Brexit's about to be rebooted with a made-for-TV movie to be broadcast on New Year's Day 2021 called End of Transition, a crossover with Coronavirus Season 2. Anyway, since the show's coming back, let's recap the final developments on the series, starting where we left off last time. The 2019 election. So, main character, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, had just gotten a new Brexit withdrawal agreement from the EU. It was basically just former Prime Minister Theresa May's withdrawal agreement, except he'd crossed her name out and put his, in spite of the fact he'd been spending ages whining about how it's apparently not a proper Brexit. You'd think they'd have, say, an actual journalist character asking him what had changed and pulling him up on the details of this deal, and also reminding him about all that stuff that he promised during the referendum campaign at the start of the series. But unfortunately, the state of British journalism is, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, pathetic. Hello, Boris. So, the one thing that everyone knows about you is that you have silly hair. Can you give us some insight into how your silly hair influences Conservative Party policy? Please now speak unchallenged for up to 30 minutes. Opposition parties fell for the trap of agreeing to hold an early election, despite the fact they didn't need to have one, and personally I was quite enjoying watching Boris Johnson get the Prime Minister position that he'd always craved, but finding it to be hollow and empty because he couldn't actually do anything with it. So great, everyone's got to take time out their Thursdays to go to a polling station again. Anyway, the opponent was leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn. There were other parties, but his was the only one with any real shot at it. But it was kind of a foregone conclusion that he was going to lose because he'd been leader of the opposition for about 4 years, pretty much everyone had already made their minds up about him by this point, and when almost every media outlet in the country is convinced that you're literally Satan, it's kind of impossible to win much support at all, if any. So yeah, Boris Johnson won the first outright Tory majority in years, because if this show's gonna suck, it's gonna suck as hard as it possibly can. But then, just before the series finale, there was a shit and pointless filler episode, and that episode was called Big Ben Bongs. So the United Kingdom has this famous line of toys called Big Ben. It's basically a little plastic model of a clock tower, and they actually built one in real life to honour the iconic toy. I am 100% certain the toys came first. That is canon. Fight me. Anyway, the Big Ben manufacturers had started a redesign so they could sell more merchandise and closed the real one. And a bunch of Tory MPs wanted Big Ben to bong on the day that Article 50 finally expired on January the 31st to mark the occasion. But it was still being redesigned and it would cost a lot of money just to get it to bong for one day. So those Tory MPs started a crowdfunder to get Big Ben to bong for one day only. An idea that was actually endorsed by Boris Johnson himself. And then, the World Health Organization were warning about the spread of a deadly virus that had emerged late the previous year in China and could potentially go on to kill thousands and thousands of people. But what are the chances of that happening? I did not make any of that up. That is actually what they were doing in January. Anyway, so January 31st came and went and Brexit's done now, right? Right? Brexit is done. So yeah, the show was supposed to have ended. But people kept on talking about it for some reason. It was almost like Brexit wasn't done. I understand why people kept talking about it though, because the series had left so many questions unanswered. Like, how many children does Boris Johnson have? Who stole Andrea Leadsome's brain? And also, the central mystery of the series never even got revealed. What actually was the EU? Was it Super Hitler in disguise? Or was it just a bunch of massive buildings that do shit? Well, it turns out the TV movie reboot answers that question, and it's been leaked to the press, and I can tell you what it is right now. Spoiler warning. Okay, so it turns out after all this time that the EU is a bunch of massive buildings that do shit, and that shit is actually quite important, and this whole thing was a terrible idea, and it's going to cause years and years of grinding misery. Oh. Is it too late to back out? This sounds kind of shit. No backing out. Brexit means Brexit. This means we get to smear shit all over your face for the rest of your life. I've got to say, I'm really unimpressed with the plot synopsis for the TV movie as well. Apparently the plot is that hell on earth is going to be unleashed because some people had a disagreement over some fish. Yeah, it's weird. The writers are getting really obsessed with fish for some reason. We need to control our fish. What we need to do, right, is we need to fit our fish with mind-controlling nanotechnology, and we need to control them into formation to attack the European fishing vessels. Kablam! Pow! Take that, Johnny Foreigner! Anyway, so I'm guessing you've all seen the viral marketing campaign they've been doing. Get ready for Brexit! They started rolling these ads out in 2019 when it was looking like October 31st was going to be the final Brexit finale, but they've started doing new ones now that the show's coming back.
Businesses that deal with Europe
will have to follow new rules from the 1st of January 2021. New rules from 1st of January.
So get on it now at gov.uk/transition.
Okay, but here's the thing though. Why do we have to do anything? Wasn't this supposed to be the easiest deal in human history? Weren't we supposed to be getting everything we wanted because we hold all the cards? There will be no downsides, only a considerable upside. Didn't they tell us that Brexit was supposed to be this shiny, happy, magical wonder utopia where the NHS would suddenly get 350 million quid a week, the waiting times in my local surgery would go down, and we can also get slightly better prices for this particular brand of shit Australian biscuit that tastes like styrofoam? Now I'm being told that Brexit's going to involve massive queues along motorways, an entire county gets turned into a car park, empty shelves in supermarkets, again, fruit rotting in the fields, and medicine shortages. Something that we kind of need right now because you know. So, what now? Well, guess there's nothing to do but just sit back and watch, right? And now, introducing, after 4.5 years, here it is, Brexit.